All right, we are live. Welcome to Geeks Worldwide presents Press and Key. I am, of course, your host, Michael Sugar. This is episode 295. We have a fantastic show for you, and I'm very happy to see some faces that haven't been around for a little while. Let me introduce the crew. We have the mysterious Yahel.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Just being mysterious and enigmatic. I'd tell you more, but
exactly. Yeah. I'm like, where is this guy? What happened to him? I had to like yell at him to come back on the show. Chris Lassard finally found some time in his very busy schedule to be with us.
Hello, how's it going, everyone?
It's going good. It's going good. Happy Thanksgiving. We should mention that. Very important.
Yep.
And of course, last but certainly not least, Josh Irwin.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be back.
Good to have you back on the show. You all settled in, moved, everything's in place.
Yeah, everything's pretty much in place. This room is still kind of a mess, but it'll get there. So the important thing is we've got high-speed internet and a good computer.
That's all anyone really needs.
That's all you really need.
Just high-speed internet and Pornhub, and you're good. That's it.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, for now.
Well, yes, actually, speaking of, we have a quick PSA.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That segue, man. That segue.
That's right. That's it right there.
Beautiful.
Way to have your hand on the joystick, Mike. Way to have your
That's
hand
right.
on the joystick.
That's right. Listen, I've been doing this. This isn't my first podcast. So we actually have a PSA for once that really doesn't have to do with video games, but it does have to do with the internet. So the FCC is looking to repeal the net neutrality laws, and that's a bad thing. We do not want that to happen. So now is the time to speak up and make your voice heard. There is a fantastic website to go to, which basically will tell you who your local senator is, who your local representative is. It'll help you generate a form if you want to just like mail a form in. Make your voice heard. This is super important, guys.
They have scripts too, right? So you can call your senators and read off of the script. So if you're worried about saying something or sounding dumb, you have a script and all the stuff is in there for you, so you don't have to feel that way.
Absolutely.
And even easier way, I think you guys are talking about Battle for the Net, right?
Yes, battleforthenet.com. Yes.
So I use that, and then I also, there's the Resist bot where you text 50409, and that one's actually, I think, easier. And
it's a little slow though, because because so many people are using it. I actually used the Resist bot myself, and it still hasn't fully like registered with me. Like it finally messaged me after like 2 hours, but I'm still waiting on.
I used it this morning. It took maybe 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And the nice thing is it'll fax in whatever you write to the appropriate your senators, Republicans who represent you,
right?
And then it gives you like a copy of it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so to use the Resist bot, if you want to use the Resist bot, I will tell you the number for that.
It's 50409.
Look at that. He's more prepared than I am.
I just looked at it.
Yeah. So 50409 and text Resist to the bot, and then it'll kick in. Yeah. Just maybe take like half an hour or something like that. It certainly took a while for me to see anything from it. So be patient. But absolutely worth it. And everyone should be doing this. If you love the internet, then do this. Speak up. Yeah. All right, let's actually talk some video games. We're gonna start things off with a what the fuck story, just to wet your whistle, as it were. And it involves the Russian military, of all things. So here's what happened. The Russian military, the Russian Ministry of Defense, because I want to be precise about this, made a post on both Facebook and Twitter, basically saying that they had, and this is a direct quote, irrefutable evidence of direct cooperation and support provided by the US-led coalition to ISIS terrorists. This is direct quote. This is what they're saying. And so their proof was a screenshot from a video game. A mobile video game.
It wasn't even
like it's not even a good screenshot.
No. I mean, like look at these trucks, right? What trucks are perfect squares like that?
Right.
Right? Like, wow, those are some really awesome mathematically symmetrical trucks right there. That's not fishy at all.
The best part.
They're also like featureless. Like the hoods are featureless. Like,
oh yes, I mean, just the image itself, even if it didn't come from a video game, tells you zero, like absolutely nothing. Yeah, it's just a bunch of square blobs. But what's crazy to me is that they cropped an image, and the uncropped image in the corner, you can see it actually says development footage. This is a work in progress. Basically, the game was a AC-130 gunship simulator, kind of like basically copying the super famous level from the first Modern Warfare. That's the game that was being developed, and that's the screenshot that they took. It's mind blowing.
They like blurred it up a little bit to make it look even more real. Man, this is some good stuff. Whoever did this deserves a lot of money because it was a great idea and no one saw through it whatsoever. So if the Russians are making you apologize for fake propaganda, you like fucked up, dude.
Yeah, so basically, as Chris pointed out, like the Russian populace basically responded on Twitter saying like, "What the fuck are you smoking? This is clearly fake." You know, like, so they had to delete the tweet and apologize and all that stuff, and it just looks really bad. Like, come on.
They did so well with the election, you know? This is just shoddy work.
Getting lazy.
Yeah,
this is below the standard they've set.
Yeah, you can't get complacent with this kind of stuff. You gotta hold yourself to a higher standard.
It's true, especially when it comes to propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, your country is literally run by it. So this is the type of stuff you're going to. Go and get your degree, man.
It's true. And I also want to take a quick moment to highlight our unofficial sponsor. I say unofficial because they have no idea I'm doing this, but PowerA controllers, definitely check them out. They are great small controllers to use on mobile, for mobile devices or just on the go, basically. If you have a, I imagine they're Bluetooth, so they pair up with just about anything. So
literally the image on your shirt looks more realistic than this Russian screenshot.
It's true. It's true. So moving away from that for a second, let's get serious for a moment here. And I think we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is EA, right? EA has kind of been dominating the gaming news headlines for the past, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, it feels like.
2 weeks was what popped into my head.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So in case you've been under a rock, or you basically decided to like shut off the noise, we're here to catch you up to speed. Here's basically what happened. EA was releasing Battlefront 2. There's a lot of hype. Like, oh my God, this game looks so cool. Everyone loves Star Wars. This seems like a great idea. And then more information started to come out regarding the loot boxes and the work you had to put into the game to unlock the iconic characters like Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, etc., for use in the game. So basically, EA held like an open beta, essentially, right? I think on Origins, so anyone could try out the game for free. That lasted for about a week. People were very upset about the loot crate system. EA decided to scale things back. They basically made it easier to earn the characters, but also reduce the amount of rewards that you received as well. So it didn't really make a difference.
Oh my God.
So after that happened, people were still further upset, understandably so. And so EA has basically, hold on. Apparently I'm being told I sound like a robot. Interesting.
And you put it very nicely. Like, it wasn't that it took a long time for the characters to get unlocked. It would take 3,700 hours to unlock every single character without. So if you're doing the math, 365 days a year, so 10 hours a day, that's playing 10 hours a day, every day for a year, and still not unlocking every single character.
Right. And the way it worked was that if you prioritize, like, and you just decide you weren't going to do anything except unlock a character, it still took, I can't even remember what it was, something like 300 hours just to get like one character, some absurd number.
And this is already...
Yeah, it was 60,000 points. And then you were earning on a 45-minute match like 200 to 300 points if you won.
Nice.
So they dropped it to 10,000 points. Which is still, you earn 200 to 300 points for a 45-minute match that you win.
Can you imagine like what went on in the meeting where they decided like these fucking numbers?
They said, we want the players to feel really good about unlocking these characters. And so you feel accomplished. We're going to allow you to play our game for 3,700 hours and unlock all of the characters.
And we're going to charge you full price.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when they were bragging about how nobody had to like rush to the hero characters in a map anymore, that everybody would be able to have them on a star card, and how great that was? And then they made the star cards prohibitively expensive, so nobody could have them except for the whales.
Yeah, and all of this playtime. Oh, and I don't know if it was this game, but it's a common practice to like pair you up with people with better equipment and stuff.
Yes.
So you're more likely to buy that equipment and that upgrade. And so that's like a standard thing in a lot of games, but I'm pretty sure it was in Star Wars Battlefront.
Well, yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
I'm sure everything.
Basically, there was a massive disparity between the players that were willing to dole out money for their characters and people that weren't doing it. So, unlike a game where like Call of Duty, right? Say what you will about it, the multiplayer is fairly balanced, and even though a very experienced player, perk wise, isn't dramatically more powerful than another player. A lot of it's skill. This is you got significant health buffs, you got significant reload speed.
Pay to win.
And so your character, just the baseline performance of the character was significantly better if you opened up that wallet, essentially. So players were very upset. A lot of players apparently were canceling their orders and so forth and so on. So EA has announced basically that they are removing microtransactions for now. All right, that's all they've committed to. Right, it's not a permanent thing. It's just they're removing them. They're going to monitor the situation and figure things out. The two very, very interesting little tidbits of information that came out as well after they made this announcement was, the first is they had a financial earning call. And on that call, they announced that they expected, quote, no material impact. I'm gonna read the exact quote. Don't expect there to be a material impact on EA's fiscal year 2018 as a result of turning off the microtransactions, which is like, what the fuck, guys? If there's no financial impact, then why are you being assholes and doing this in the first place, right? If you're going to earn your money.
Well, I mean, that could just mean that they're going to get the money somewhere else or some other way, or they don't expect it to be off for that long. I mean, that can mean a lot of things. That's very vague statement.
What is your interpretation of that statement? Let me ask you that then.
I mean, yeah, I think it just means it's corporate speak for, don't worry, we're going to find some other way to get this money. I mean, that's just me.
No, you listen.
I think it means that microtransactions will be reinstated for fiscal year 18 after the Star Wars movie has already left the theaters and all of that nonsense is over. Now, they may make it a little bit more fair, because the way I understand it is right now, like whenever you buy currency, you can't really determine like what you do with that currency. Like the loot boxes are totally random, and they usually give you like really shitty. They usually give you like really shitty items. So if you need a particular star card, or you want a particular star card or weapon, you can't just buy it. Which I think would make things a lot different if you could, right?
My understanding is there's multiple currencies to juggle as well. Like there's
like 3.
Yeah. To make it extra confusing and convoluted. So
I'd be back first quarter, I would think.
are going to buy, moms are going to buy something like this for their kids on Christmas. Right? Star Wars, here's a game. And
yeah, let's face
moms.
I think they're preying on not educated consumers. I think sometimes Reddit and stuff can be an echo chamber where it's like we as people in the industry know that that's fucked up, and it might have had the lowest Reddit comment of all time. But in the end, it doesn't matter because the majority of people don't really care. And so I think that's what it means. I don't think there is any type of sugarcoating at all. I think they were just like, we got caught. We don't need to put in the microtransactions, and we'll make this money. We'll make more money on another game, probably Madden.
It'll be interesting to see if this affects, Battlefront 3 more so than Battlefront 2. Because, to Chris's point, like moms and people who don't know, they're just going to buy it. Now, once they realize, hey, I can't beat Luke without shelling out a bunch of money or whatever, then they might be like, I'm not going to fucking do this again next year.
Yeah, they're still going to sell 30 million copies. I mean, they sold 42 million copies last year. They'll still sell 30 million copies even after this debacle.
I want to believe that EA is going to, come out of this with more than just a slap on the wrist. Another game that they just released is the new Need for Speed game, which also has, a loot box system in place for upgrading your cars. Mm-hmm. So like your car won't drive fast unless you like get lucky with a fucking loot box and get like an engine. You can't just like earn credit. You can't like win a race and then use the winnings from that race to buy your car a better engine. No, that's too fucking simple. No, you have to like open a loot box and hope that the RNGesus gives you like a better loot, a better car, better tires, better whatever. And that game is not doing well. Basically, it's across the board getting really terrible reviews.
Well, it's a slot machine, right?
It's literally a slot machine. Yes,
it even functions as it. There's 3 little wheels, and each one like slows down. Yeah,
it's a literal slot machine.
So Disney hasn't really, not that I've seen these, they haven't put out a statement or anything, right, about all of this?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, Yahel. Officially, no. But we have heard some stories that Disney has reached out to EA, basically saying, "Yo, cut the shit. Like, this is a bad idea. Don't do this." But they don't actually own EA. They just basically sold them the license to Star Wars, and I want to say it was for a couple of years. Do you guys remember what the agreement was? I don't remember.
It was like 3 or 5 years up front.
But I would think that contract is going to have, certain requirements regarding the image of Disney's property that have to be met. I would think they can't, like EA, for example, can't just make a Star Wars porn game just because they bought the licenses or something.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was either Polygon or it was Jason Schreier had mentioned that Disney had put a kibosh. He had heard from a developer that Disney had put a kibosh on them putting cosmetic items in loot boxes, which is why loot boxes ended up the way that they are, because Disney controls the image so much. They don't want Han Solo in a pink vest, like stuff like that. So they retooled their loot boxes to have like pay to win items because they couldn't sell cosmetic items because Disney wouldn't let them.
But that doesn't, I'm not saying that's not true. That doesn't make sense because there's still other cosmetic items for like major characters that you could still do. Like I think EA was always going to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. This was just like I said.
This is EA. This is EA. I mean, come on.
It was literally rated the worst place to work in the world at one point. So. Wow. Not only is it just like a terrible game company, right? Just taking all these IPs that we know and love and destroying them, and then they're also a terrible place to work for. So, like, I think that poor social media manager, right, that had to put that Reddit comment out there, like that poor guy.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like it's just a pawn in the grand scheme of things.
He just went home and started to drink, I imagine. Like just walked in the door, just like he popped out.
What was it? It was like 465,000 downvotes in 24 hours. Like
at least,
maybe even less than that. And that's insane. And that wasn't supposed to be his job, right? No. He's just the social media guy. Like none of that is his fault. But
no, fuck that guy. It is his fault.
He should have said something during those meetings.
He shouldn't have tried to explain things.
Yeah.
You know that he's sitting there during the meetings going, "This is terrible. This is not a good idea. This is going to backfire."
Guys, but so I took a quick look, by the way. The deal was signed in 2013, and it's a multi-year licensing agreement, although it's I don't think they announced officially how many years the agreement was for. I have a feeling if things don't go over well, we might not see a Battlefront 3 from EA. We'll see. We'll see. But I think it's interesting that you mentioned EA killing studios, Chris, because as far as I can tell, there's another studio on the chopping block. EA recently bought another studio, which is super duper ironic because they just shut one down 3 weeks before that. Right? It's really messed up. Pandemic, I believe, was the one that got shut down, right?
No, it was
Visceral. Visceral. So Visceral got shut down 3 weeks ago. EA, meanwhile, has bought up Respawn, essentially.
Who is also working on a Star Wars game, by the way.
So Respawn is basically the guys behind Titanfall. And before that, they were the guys behind Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Most of them left when Activision fucked them over and made Respawn. So this is a really interesting situation. Basically, the Korean company Nexon, which is behind a lot of MMORPGs in Korea,
Maple Story, stuff like that.
Lineage is another one, and they do a bunch. They were trying to buy up Respawn, and basically the agreement that Respawn had with EA allowed them to make a matching offer, which they did. Not only did they match, they exceeded. So now Respawn is owned by EA, which also means they're going to close it down in like 2 years. So get ready for that.
You can mark it on your calendars.
You can pretty much mark it on your calendar.
Yeah, there's a pattern that seems to be happening, and the pattern's taken place over the last like 7 years. So it'll happen.
Very much so. And I have to say, like, the Battlefront thing has really made me bummed out about Anthem, which is also going to be published by EA. Of course, it's being developed by BioWare, but I feel like it's just going to be another loot box clusterfuck that I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So,
and if that's the case, that's the end of BioWare. BioWare's done.
BioWare's done after that, in my opinion, if that game doesn't do well.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
It's really shitty. But,
and the thing is EA will not get any of those consequences, right? Like BioWare will have to shut down. BioWare will lose money. But EA, in the end, they got their money. They have the deal. They have the contract, right? They come off scot-free, and that's why they're able to be predatory like this.
It's just going to be another like skeleton in the closet, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a weird thing. It's a weird rabbit hole to fall down because like loot boxes are basically the new like low quality games that were developed in 2 weeks, right? So like like the whole fall of Atari and the whole fall of the whole home console in the late 70s and early 80s.
I'm so glad you brought that up because EA right now they're acting like they're too big to fail, but they're really not. Like giant companies in the gaming industry have gone down before for dumber shit. Like they're not impervious to failing as a company. They have enough money where they can make that take longer to happen, but it can definitely happen.
I mean, I'm obviously speaking for myself, but if Anthem has loot boxes and the loot boxes have anything other than cosmetic items, I'm done. Like I don't care. Like I'm not touching that game.
It can't be. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go.
It can't be any more egregious than Destiny 2. That's like if it's going to have loot boxes, but it cannot be worse than Destiny 2 to still be successful.
I haven't touched the Destiny game, so I don't know what you're talking about.
So like the only thing is like the bright engrams, right? And you can buy those for like cosmetic stuff. I think all the Destiny 2 is strictly cosmetic. None of them have anything to do with stats on your equipment. So it's more like Overwatch than EA would be.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. But my big thing is that like this legitimately is gambling, right? And
yes.
the guys in Belgium were pretty much like, this is just how to trick kids into becoming gamblers at an early age, right?
Yes,
and it's true. So I was playing Heroes of the Storm yesterday, and I got a loot box, and it was my rare loot box, and I got a purple, which was an epic, and I was like, I don't know. And it was so weird because when I go to Vegas, I play a lot of craps, and it was literally the exact same feeling of I'm going to reroll. I'm going to spend my reroll, and it was the exact same feeling of like waiting for a hand of blackjack, or like hitting on blackjack. Hitting on 16 is kind of how it felt, right? And that's scary to me because that's addictive, and like and if like the animations are nice enough, it's also super nice feeling as well to see those things open. I think Hearthstone card packs is really good, like visual, and like I always say it's like popping a pimple, like a really satisfying one that like spurts on the mirror. And no, I'm in the majority, man. But I'm like super concerned that this is just going to devolve into a sense of this is just what it's okay now. Kids can spend $100 on cosmetics and loot boxes.
Yeah, and there was the congressman from Hawaii. He's introducing legislation to not allow the sale of games with loot boxes to minors in Hawaii because they're considering it a form of gambling.
If gambling's illegal until you're 21, 18?
18, I believe.
Then technically any game with loot boxes in it should be rated at
21.
Yeah, one of them, another state rep, he like said basically like the same way we wouldn't allow Joe Camel to be used to market cigarettes to kids, why would we let Star Wars market gambling to kids?
Yep. And some people may think that that's going a little extreme to assume that kids are learning how to gamble with boxes, but if they become familiar with a feeling like that, that's really concerning, right? That's why we all struggle with some of our vices. Like if you smoke cigarettes, or when you smoked your first cigarette, you didn't go, I'm going to get addicted to cigarettes today, right? It just happened. And so it starts the process earlier, which is the scary part.
Yeah. And I want to make clear, in my mind, there's such a dramatic line between loot boxes that have cosmetic stuff and loot boxes that have gameplay stuff. There's such a huge divide because, when I'm playing a game like Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm and I open up a loot box and I get like a cool costume, it's like, great, it's a cool costume, but it doesn't change the way I play. And if I don't get anything cool, I'm like, all right, maybe next time, not a big deal. But if what's in the box is going to directly impact the way I play the game, I have a big problem with that. And I think it absolutely is gambling.
So how is that different than in Hearthstone, right? Because I think that's a big argument, is Hearthstone is pay to win for some people, but for some people it's not, right? Because it's not cosmetic. You're getting cards that if you don't have the right cards, you're not going to be competitive, right? So where do you think that falls? And along the lines of all of this.
So that is an excellent question. And I would say that growing up playing, Magic the Gathering, for example, it's essentially the same thing, right? Is participating in the collectible card game a form of gambling? I think you could probably make that argument, but I don't think so, because there should be, maybe at the very top level, you do have to have a lot of cards, or purchase the best cards to be competitive. But if 80% of the customers can get by with
so it's statistics for you, then
I would think so. Like if you can, there should be enough versatility where it doesn't hinge on you having like 5 or 10 cards or whatever to succeed. If you can succeed through other means, then I think it's okay. But that's a really good question, Chris. Anyone else want to chime in on that one? No, scary question.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. Like, how can we say if we're going to be so emotional over boxes, right? And we're saying if EA has loot boxes in the next game, right, then it should be illegal or should be considered gambling.
There's one more distinction actually that I think is important to make. Hearthstone is free, right? Hearthstone is a free game.
That's true. Yeah.
And then you're paying to just get a couple of card packs if you want to, but you don't have to. You can earn the card packs through playing the game. In something like Battlefront, you're paying $60 for a brand new game, so I shouldn't be paying $60 up front to get the ability to then gamble further. That doesn't make sense. Right. Likewise, in a game like I see you shaking your head a little bit there, Josh. Likewise, in a game like Magic, obviously not free, you would buy a structure deck or a base deck, and that usually sells for, I want to say, $20, but I haven't bought Magic cards in a long time, so I could be wrong about that. Might be a little bit more. And that gives you a complete deck. That gives you something that you can sit down and play the game with whoever, and then if you want to build other decks, then you have to purchase more cards. So go ahead.
Going back to the Joe Camel analogy, the first one is always free. So I'm not sure that it being a free game and still promoting gambling is necessarily a good route to go.
But is it only not considered gambling because we're used to card games? Is that the only distinction that's different? Because as I continue thinking about it, it's more and more similar, right?
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Well, and just imagine if the government decides to step in and legislators who have no idea, the difference between one loot box and the next, or a free to play game and one that's full price. What are they going to do? They're just going to use, a very broad sword to attack it.
Absolutely.
So I think these video game companies, they're really creating a big problem for themselves if they end up getting intervention from the government.
Maybe what we need is the ESA to form a board that specifically evaluates whether or not loot boxes are really gambling. Do you know what I mean? The ESA right now stepped in to regulate age limits on games. That wasn't the government. It was kind of pressure from the government, but if they hadn't formed the Entertainment Software Board or whatever, the government would have regulated, ratings on games.
For us plebs, can you say what the ESA is?
Entertainment Software Association.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good comparison, Josh. Maybe the ESA stand up. Obviously they were formed to deal with the very question of how do you rate video games. So this might be also another good opportunity for them to step up and make a ruling or have a committee, as you mentioned.
I don't even know if, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but parents now ignore those ratings from the ESRB. The ESRB ratings don't mean anything to a lot of parents. They just want to pick up a game that'll shut their kids up. I don't know how.
I'm sure a bunch of parents do use it, but I agree with you that many don't. So,
but it's a tool that keeps government regulation out of video games, and that's kind of my whole point: is use it to keep them out of, video games. Just let them regulate or let them determine how predatory loot boxes are. And if it works well enough, we can keep government regulation out of it.
Well said. Well said. So we're going to be obviously keeping a close eye on this story. We're going to see where it goes from here. But in the interest of time, we do need to keep it moving. And I have a treat for you guys, something that's very rare on this show. And that is a Nintendo story.
Good content. Sorry.
Not negative. Not negative Nintendo story. Basically, there was a report from the Wall Street Journal and Nintendo and Illumination Entertainment, which is basically the studio behind Despicable Me, also the Minions, but let's focus on Despicable Me, are nearing a deal for a feature-length Super Mario Brothers animated film. It's kind of cool, actually. I think Nintendo has gotten a lot better about, obviously they've been burned quite a bit in the past. I think they've gotten a lot better with social media and sort of how their characters are represented in the media. Some would say they're a little too authoritarian about the way they micromanage their characters. But if they made an animated Super Mario Brothers movie, would you guys check it out?
Yes, because I trust the Despicable Me guys. I loved 1 and 2. I haven't seen 3, so I can't make a decision on that one. But those movies were shocking on how much I liked them going into it. So I'm kind of a Pixar fanboy. So of course, anything that looks like a Pixar movie that's not a Pixar movie, I'm going in with like incredibly high expectations, and for it to reach that level, I think bodes well, and also the animation style fits Mario in its current form really, really well.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. If they did make a movie, what do you think they would go with story-wise? Like, are they just going to do like Super Mario World, or you think
I think they'd go closer to Odyssey with like being in like cities and stuff like that and functioning in real world environments? I think that's what
Josh is like.
I think that's what they would go for. But even if they go for that, and while that might not be like the best case scenario in Josh's mind, I think they'll still do it great.
The end of Odyssey is freaking weird. I don't know.
Oh, don't spoil it for me.
Yeah, me neither.
Don't spoil it for me.
I won't spoil it, but it goes some places you're just like, what? Like it's.
Is there penetration?
No, but you kind of you do start to wonder like how much Princess Peach really doesn't want to be kidnapped and stuff. Like,
they went down that road, did they?
It almost feels like she's sort of in on it. But
I had this weird theory the other night talking to my girlfriend about Mario, that Mario is really like a cuck and he just loves that kind of stuff, and like it's all an agreement between Bowser and Princess Peach and Mario. Like they're all like in on it.
So happy that we're an adult show.
It sort of feels that way. I got to be honest. That's a good way to.
I'm glad to know I was right.
Yeah, the end of that movie, or the end of that game is strange.
It's Mario really making money for his EVE Online.
Yeah, hell's gonna be like, I was right. You see, told you so.
I mean, it can't be any worse than the live action Mario movie. So,
well, yeah, obviously.
So there's that.
That movie's amazing. Okay,
I think it's fun to watch like now, just because.
Hey, man.
John Leguizamo has to be Luigi again. I mean, like,
I'm okay with that.
I think that is.
I'm okay with Dennis Hopper being Koopa. I'm okay with actually it being.
What if they come out and they're like, so this is actually not going to be animated, and Mario is going to be played by Ryan Reynolds, and Luigi is going to be Jake Gyllenhaal, Peach will be Jennifer Lawrence.
Dude, I'm so in. That sounds amazing. I love that casting right now.
Come knocking on Chris' door tomorrow, like write the screenplay.
Daisy's gonna be one of those actresses we all recognize but don't know the name of.
Is Bowser the Rock? Because that's that's where you got to go.
No,
I say bring back Dennis Hopper. Same hair, everything.
Well, Dennis Hopper's dead.
No, bring him back to life.
For some reason, Bowser's Ed Harris. like for some reason, like it's like it's taken a super dark turn in his character arc, and like becomes kind of an anti-hero.
Directed by Zack Snyder.
No,
I'm out.
What about M. Night Shyamalan? He made a good movie for 5 years, and you never know.
Never know. It's true.
Exactly.
So, again, we'll keep an eye on this one. I'm fingers crossed. I hope it's good. We'll see. Once there's like teaser trailers, once we get a little more detail, we'll focus on it. But again, we do have to keep it moving, and we're gonna do one very quick esports story, 1.5 really. The first one is Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert, who is the owner of the Cleveland Cavs, has now invested in an esports team. Why are you laughing?
No. Liam Neeson as Toad is funny. Yeah. I stole that joke from Josh, by the way. I'm not going to take credit for that one.
That would be awesome.
I just had this thought and you'd moved on, so I put it in the chat.
It's all good. So this is kind of cool. Seeing, like legit sort of regular sports team owners now going into the esports road, I think gives it more legitimacy. So I thought that was really interesting. The other quick esports story I wanted to mention was that Formula One, the McLaren Formula One, just hired what they've dubbed the world's fastest gamer. They basically have hired a new simulator driver. That's because in Formula One, you don't have a lot of opportunity to test the cars out in real world conditions. You basically test them out during the race. So the workaround is to simulate the cars as realistically as possible. And for whatever reason, when that happens, when they're simulating the cars, they're not driven by the people that drive them in real life. They hire a video game person to. I think that's kind of
weird.
I think probably what it is it's like a broad strokes type of thing, right? So they limit track testing on their cars, so they have to do it all in a simulator. So they've probably got a guy that they use to like broad stroke the car setup in the simulator. And then when he thinks it's about right, then they bring in the real driver, because it costs a lot of money to bring in the real driver. You know what I'm saying?
Is that what it is? I mean, doesn't the real driver
so.
like just sign a contract? It's not like he's an hourly dude. I mean, like paying him X million dollars a year to drive the car.
Yeah, they're paying him to drive the car.
But couldn't they get like a guy that's maybe not that he is a real driver, but maybe he's not at the level to be like racing on real teams? And
so this guy is a
real driver.
Yeah. I mean, it said that like. No, wait a minute. It said when he was 11 years old, 14 years ago.
That's where Ayrton Senna got his start, though. Ayrton Senna was a karting champion before he became a Grand Prix champion.
But did he keep driving?
Oh, yeah.
This article makes it sound like this guy took a 14-year break. It says, and it's a return to the sport for 25-year-old Van Buren.
Well, yeah,
at age 11, he was a Dutch kart champion.
Yeah,
that's
he
like
basically
if I said, hey, I did great at Mario Kart in the 100cc course. I'm ready. Can I be the world's second fastest gamer?
Well, no. So basically, like this guy in real life didn't have the funding, didn't have the money to continue racing, and they held a competition.
Which was intense.
Yes.
I was driving for 24 hours, as well as like entire races in a simulated car. So like the Indy 500 as a game instead.
Oh, I'm sure he's good. I mean,
what I'm saying is it's going to be really hard to get the driver of that car to sit in that chair in front of the computer screen for 7 hours testing out this digital version of his car. Like if I was the star driver, that would be the first thing I would stop doing.
Well,
right?
I'm just surprised they don't get, I'm just surprised that they don't get a guy that drives regularly that maybe isn't on the level of.
And they did. They actually did, and beat this guy out during the competition. Like there were like 2 other guys that had race experience, did this in real life, and this dude beat him because he's like a Formula One champ in the simulated area.
So my question is, like, why not just take this guy and make him the driver?
Because then you need somebody else to sit there for 24 hours, I guess.
Super cool story.
That would be a very cool story.
Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't want to take the risk.
I guess in the back of your
mind,
you always
risk
know
of driving like on a real
sure. Like if you drive the simulator, if you crash the car during the simulator,
right,
you still know it's just a simulator, so it's not a big deal, right? So
it's probably one of those things like licensing the drivers to drive for F1 is so expensive that he can do the simulator thing without actually being licensed, and then work his way up to actually driving if he can get licensed.
I like that he wears the racing outfit while driving the simulator. Yeah. I do like that.
The whole fire suit just in case the computer.
Yeah.
Shit, the video card overheated.
It's true.
OSHA would be proud.
You can never be too ready.
They should make him wear the helmet.
They should.
I'm surprised they don't actually.
So, I mean, still very cool. I still think it gives.
Suddenly, a woman's leg just appeared behind your back.
Oh, my girlfriend's asleep over there. Let me just. All right.
Is that your couch test driver?
That is my couch test driver. Very, very experienced.
Wow. Wow.
Anyways,
you guys are gross. You know
this is a good segue into our what the fuck stories.
Is it
of the week?
I don't know if your girlfriend would agree that this is a segue into the what the fuck story.
It's all right. She's it doesn't matter.
The show has killed any potential political career I might have in the future. Okay. So let's just move on. Let's see what I can salvage from here on out. Maybe I'll start working for Russia propaganda because I'd be better than that dude. And
I don't know, man. The current climate, this might help your political career.
My dog would be better than that Russian dude. And he needs to use the bathroom soon. So what the fuck stories of the week. We have quite a few of them, so you guys are in for a treat. I'm gonna do this like usual from our least fucked up to most fucked up. So I think the least fucked up that we can start with is the Pikachu talk. This one is just bizarre to me. So Nintendo is releasing a Google Home app called Pikachu Talk. It is an app that simulates Pikachu talking to you. Like, not in English. I mean, he just says Pikachu and Pika, and the Pikachu sounds. That's it. That's all it does.
Awesome.
And giggles like a baby. It's about the cutest thing I've seen all day.
It is really cute. There's videos you can find where people have taken like 2 Google Home or Nest, I forget what they're called, devices, and just the Pikachus are talking to each other. It's adorable, but useless, but adorable.
I use useless things all the time. So why not this? When you reach a certain amount of money that you've made and you can afford 2 Google Homes in your home, why not have them speak to each other?
Yeah, so I would assume that this is almost more of just like a marketing tool for them,
It's a good idea. I like it.
It's just so random. I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't cost them anything to release the audio files of Pikachu making sounds, but I don't know. Like, I can't see anyone using this for more than half an hour, and then where's there to go for this?
Just like this show.
Just like the show.
Well, they should stick around for the after hours section portion. We do the late night sex talk that we do.
Oh no, I thought you meant like Pokemon. I didn't think you meant our show. Our show's fucking amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool.
I want to make that clear.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
Damn it, Chris. I need you to be a team player.
I am. I think honesty is a desirable quality in a team member, and someone on your team is not.
Mike is going to replace you with the Pikachu and Nintendo Home app if you keep this up.
Pika. The next story, also pretty cool, kind of random, but cool. Bards can actually now play instruments in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, it, as far as I can tell, this doesn't have any actual effect in terms of, doesn't buff you more than whatever the regular skill, but you can actually play music. If you're that dedicated to, like, role playing your character, you can now legit play any song you want.
Yeah.
Could you just panhandle on the corner of like Limosa or something?
I don't see why not.
I thought the warning that Square Enix put out about how they don't want people playing anything other than Final Fantasy songs because they don't want Nintendo complaining about like people making Mario music in the game. I'm like, you're just asked people to do anything but Final Fantasy songs.
That?
Look, I didn't even think about it until I wrote it.
I think it was just meant like, don't do this on YouTube. If you do it on the server, I don't think anyone cares.
Well, people are gonna do it for sure.
They're absolutely gonna do it. I actually, as soon as I saw it, I went on YouTube to see if I could find any videos of it, but I couldn't. Also, like, didn't look super hard, so maybe it's out there.
It'd be super cool though that you could pick your instrument as well. So like, it's like you pick up a tuba and you start doing all this stuff.
Bards don't play tubas. Duh.
They can in my world. I have a degree in tuba, okay? For real. I went to school for music education and my degree is in tuba, and I feel like we're an underrepresented group in video games. And so we
that explains why you blow so much, Chris.
Yep. I have a lot of hot air behind these lips.
That's true. True.
Which happens to be the title of our sex talk later.
That's good. That's good. Our next what the fuck story for you involves the game that I hate tremendously with all my heart, Final Fantasy XIV. The main character from there, Noctis, is basically like a more emo version of Sasuke from Naruto. is going to be crossing over into Tekken 7. I don't know why. I think it's very random, and I want to believe that like Square Enix is like thinking like, fuck, he's not becoming a thing. We need him to be a thing. Quick, give money to Namco to put him in the video game, and then he'll become a thing. That's my only theory.
Yeah,
for
maybe.
So my Facebook said a totally different thing. So when they announced this, all of these fangirls were like super excited for him to be in Tekken 7. And I think it was basically because they think he's hot. And so I think that
he is an emo Sasuke. So yeah, he's got that going for him, the lead.
Yeah,
I can see that.
And people are into that. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. They're like, we need a sexy character in this game. Our bear's not sexy enough. So
that game is all like super jacked dudes and like women with big tits fighting each other. So I don't know. Like it's not quite like Dead or Alive level, but
I was going to ask if Sydney was going to come to Dead or Alive next. That was my next question.
Right? That's the logic.
No, there are some people who are like fangirling out on my feed about that crossover. So obviously there's a group of people who are super excited about it.
I'm sure.
Just not this group of people.
No. It's true. But don't worry. We have saved the best story by far for last. And it involves our two favorite things, Pornhub and EVE Online.
Those words were in that order, everybody. So just know that was intentional and 100% true. So.
I know you guys. I've this, like I said, this isn't our first podcast together. I know what kind of weird things you all are into, especially that guy Yahel.
Yeah, I'm into. I'm very unsavory with my sexual tastes
and mysterious.
Yes.
So basically, this guy on Reddit confessed to masturbating on Pornhub, like to submitting videos of himself masturbating on Pornhub and using that money from Pornhub to fund his EVE Online gameplay, basically, because you can use real money to purchase spaceships and like get your character to level up faster. So based on the story, he accumulated about $350 from these videos of himself masturbating, which
he was dropping $350 at a time.
Yeah.
So he's making more money than that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, I would want more than $350.
Hey, I don't know. It's more than I get paid to do it. So, whatever.
Yeah.
True. It's true. And so, yeah, he's basically like using this money to advance his EVE Online career. And the funny, like, this game is one of those games where I love to read about it. Have you guys ever tried to play it?
A little bit.
A long time ago.
What?
Yeah.
Jerking off?
EVE Online is boring as fuck. Like when you're actually playing it, it is very cut and dry. It's just a bunch of numbers for the most part. And granted, it's been a number of years since I dipped into it, but
it is hard to get into.
Yeah.
Not like a fleshlight like he was using, whereas a little easier to get into.
By the way, he was using sex toys based on the ships found in EVE Online.
That's a whole new level of screwed up.
So good. I love it when people commit.
There's a couple weird things too about the Destructoid article. I don't know if you guys noticed the guy that wrote the article. His name's Papa, which I don't know, it just adds like another sexual connotation because that means daddy, basically. And then like it says, let me look at it here. It says it describes a fleshlight as a flashlight that hides a rubber vagina from people that you live with. Like if you've ever seen a fleshlight, it's huge. I've heard, and like no one's gonna think it's a flashlight because A, it doesn't light up, and B, it's gigantic,
and it looks like a vagina.
It also under his profile, it also calls him a meat vessel.
Does it really?
Yeah, no, seriously. Scroll down to the bottom of the article. It says Papa Nero, meat vessel.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That is a
All
phrase I need to start incorporating.
You're right.
No comment.
You know, your word of the day calendar every single day on
You know what?
is meat vessel.
Josh, I didn't realize it said that, but I noticed like his tagline says, "I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes here." All right, meat vessel.
All right. So
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, because it is basically Thanksgiving Eve.
We're giving away fleshlights.
Gobble that turkey, everybody. Gobble that.
Not quite.
That
Just
is my
to-
best Oprah.
Just gotta do my.
I brought the stuffing.
We've got a meat vessel. We've got a bunch of fleshlights for you guys, and all you have to do is submit your question.
Someone has to be the adult in the room here. Let us stop talking about fleshlights for just a second. Tell me the game you are most thankful for in 2017.
Eve Online.
It's true. It's the game that keeps on giving. It's true. But of the ones that you've played this year, what are you most thankful for?
So I bring this up all the time, but one of the best gaming experiences I ever had was a indie horror game called Layers of Fear. That is the game. So we're currently making a game at the studio I work with that's very like influenced by that, and they just did so many cool little tricks to like say it blew my mind on the stuff that they did. So Layers of Fear is the game I'm most thankful that I got to play this year.
Nice. I will give a somewhat cliche answer, but it is no less true. For me, it was Zelda Breath in the Wild.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
That game just grabbed me by the jaws and would not let go. I had a phenomenal time playing it from start to finish, and nothing else came up. Like, I wasn't distracted by anything else. I was just completely consumed by the game, and I loved it.
I was just going to say Nintendo in general, because of the dozens of games I've played this year, the only ones I finished have been made by Nintendo. So Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, all of that stuff. So
Yeah, I was gonna say Breath of the Wild too. I've been playing a lot of older games this year, but actually, like as far as like more recent games go, and like I don't know, this one's probably gonna be a weird choice, but Rocket League, just because I played that a ton this year, just because it's so much fun to play with friends. And it's so easy to get like people that don't normally play games. It's a game that's very easy to get into. Right? So I've been able to reconnect with some people that I've never played before with.
I think Rocket League is going to be the dark horse esport that pops out. I think it's easy to watch. It's easy to understand. Everyone knows how to play soccer. And I think everyone's kind of putting Overwatch and Dota. And while I think the three of those things have gotten there, Rocket League averaged more viewers than Overwatch did in the last competitive scene. So
Interesting.
I think Rocket League is definitely the dark horse in being that breakthrough esport. So it's fun to watch. Watching good Rocket League players is so cool. That's the stuff that they can do.
Did you guys play any like old, I hate to use the term retro, but any old game this year for the first time that maybe you had never played before that particularly blew your mind? Or
I played Rayman Legends and fucking loved it. That one.
Counts old, but
for me it is.
Suikoden 2. I played through Suikoden 2 early in the year, and that game was amazing.
I also replayed Katamari Damacy, if you guys remember that one.
I remember that one.
Yeah, that one has not really held up to time.
A few months ago, I ran into a game, not even like a couple months ago, called Sylphied. It was on the Sega CD.
Sega CD game.
Yeah, I had never heard of this. It's awesome.
Yeah, shooter.
It took me a few times playing it to realize that it's like FMV, the background. Like I was like, how's it rendering all these polygons? Like, it's so well done.
It's really good.
It's really good.
The music and everything in that game is really
it's pretty challenging too.
Earlier this year, I played Another World. That should take you back a little bit.
Out of this world. You're in America.
And that was sort of a very interesting experience because it is so brutally difficult, and
it is so good.
It's a great game, but it just basically requires you to learn all the patterns and just know when to do what, where to go, essentially.
Fun fact, there's a sequel for that game on Sega CD, and that's the only place that came. Yep, Heart of the Alien is the name of it.
Oh. Look it up.
And then my last one was, did you guys ever play Streets of Rage?
Oh, yeah.
Streets of Rage. Yeah, I got back into Streets of Rage 3.
Nice.
As well, which is classic beat 'em up. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a woman laughing?
Yeah, I just muted myself. My girlfriend's she's either laughing or choking. I don't know.
We'll find out. I was about to say, you might want to look into that.
On our next segment, on our sex talk, is she laughing or choking?
There's some weird Mario Odyssey stuff going on back here.
How you can use asphyxiation in your next sexual encounter.
Look, guys, she's just trying to get some money for EVE Online. Okay, guys.
We're asking the hard questions that no other gaming journalist podcast or website is. We are here for you guys.
We're all trying to get money for EVE Online.
It's true.
Whatever it takes.
So grab your joystick and press any key.
I was gonna say double click.
You can see us all on Chatterbait. And about
might as well dual stream there next time.
In about 15 minutes to get those.
They'll be like, "Why aren't you naked?" Anyways, that is all the raunchy show we have for you tonight. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment below. We absolutely love to hear from you guys. And you can always tweet at us as well at PAK Podcast, PAK Podcast. Until next time, I have been your host, Michael Schluger.
I'm your help,
Chris.
Josh.
Have a great week of gaming. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. Push a lot of buttons for us, or keys, whichever. We don't judge here.
Flashlights, whatever.
Or flashlights. We don't judge. And we'll see you next time.
See you on the next meat vessel.
Hasta luego.